Welcome to another episode of Out of Office with Leen. I'm Leen Nsouli, your host and office supplies industry analyst at the NPD Group. The Out of Office series from NPD takes us out of the world of office supplies and into a new space or industry in order to explore and take advantage of ideas or trends that are adjacent and complementary to our industry and consumer. Today, Mike Crosby is back to talk to us about how technology and office supplies intersect in supporting the future of learning. Mike, it's great to have you back on. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Leen, thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting.
Great, me too. So, in office supplies, some of the more tactile types of products that we use or are used for things like projects, drawing, and creative learning methods have been growing. And most recently, they've gained about 3% on top of an already strong quarter last year. We're seeing a focus on student re-engagement through different types of learning like experiential learning, sensory-oriented learning. There's a focus on social and emotional learning. And we've also seen an increased reliance on things like personal tutoring, among other learning methods. So in some of our discussions, Mike, you've mentioned that the growth that's taken place in the education vertical for technology buying at schools seems to be normalizing a little bit now. Can you tell me a little bit how schools are incorporating different types of learning models into the classroom and into learning in general?
Sure. Great question too, and a great topic. Education and technology really is seeing a whole nother elevation relative to use, integration, and ways that really they can take advantage of a lot of the new technology tools to really enhance that overall education experience. And that really is what's driving it. It's the overall experience. Tech is also providing a lot of, I think, the ability to identify and to manage to individual students' needs and requirements. That's something that wasn't traditionally part of a lot of the current model or the previous model that was in place. And technology is allowing that more customizable, again, experience where you can really understand not only where the students are academically, but also what are some specific areas that you can be focusing on to either elevate them up to a core standard or if they're excelling, to continue to feed that acceleration. So it's an interesting thing. But again, think now personalization and think experiential, as we were just talking about. It's really more about learning by doing.
That's very interesting. I've seen a lot of really creative ways in which technology or even gaming is being used for learning. So, in the data that you're seeing, what are some of the big growth areas in B2B, especially in relation to education?
Well, clearly it's been around devices because I think there was still a significant shortage of device deployment. And that's really the catalyst for all types of new and inventive software. And again, more around this experiential learning. You're also seeing a lot of focus around now what they're considering XR or extended reality. And that actually includes all forms, AR, VR, and mixed reality. So you're going to see that, again, focusing and leveraging the technology to provide that immersive digital experience. And that's really the difference, right? It allows all types of flexibility in all types of environments to really be able to take advantage of that. You're also seeing a lot more collaborative type of engagement going on where they're utilizing more effectively interactive whiteboards and other things that, again, that provide that vehicle of enhanced collaboration. So really taking advantage of some of these newer technologies. The interesting thing too is, as we've seen this ramp so quickly over the last 18 to 24 months with the pivot to remote and then back again, it's also pushing the technology forward. So look to have additional innovation be coming forward here really over the next 18 to 24 months as well, and see that accelerate, because I think they're definitely pushing the envelope. And again, with now a lot more usage, you're able to provide some great feedback around ways that they can enhance the overall solution.
Yeah, I think, all of that is very exciting. And one of the notes you hit on, the idea of the immersion or the experiential learning. I've recently seen some examples where, students can, be immersed in a certain time frame and learn about history by being able to really experience, right, that period or time. Do you have some other examples like that where learning can take place in a more immersive experience that you've seen?
Yeah, and again, just a few examples, but like in science or engineering or any environmental kind of a topic. I saw a recent example that you could go inside a tornado while it was
Wow.
actively spinning around you. You can see and experience, but also learn clearly of what are the different dynamics that are going on. I've also seen another one where it's a virtual climb of Mount Everest, so you can see and understand what are those difficult, both terrain, weather, climate, all types of other elements that make that. And then the last one that was really interesting was inside the inner workings of a beehive. So, I mean, you can see this really, really interesting immersive experience, and talk about the level of learning is so much richer than I think what you would see in maybe prior to leveraging these technologies. So, really is coming a long way, and I think it's going to continue to come a long way.
Yes, I think the way that you remember something when you learn it in that sort of a method it stays with you. And I do think you have a deeper learning when you have an immersive experience like that. So it's very cool. Thank you. Another aspect of this is that I imagine that this would be something that's very or could be expensive to maintain, right? Or as we introduce these different types of learning models into districts and school systems and classrooms.
Today, what's also interesting is if you look at where all the money comes from. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. What a lot of people don't realize is the federal government really only provides less than 10% of the overall education budget. It's about 8% overall. The rest, if you look at it, 47% comes from state income and sales tax. And then ultimately, local generates about 45% based on property taxes. So, again, critical to be able to continue to support the funding and support the needs and requirements of students, not only today, but tomorrow, is the economy has to do well. So as the pandemic conditions improve, students are back in school, economy continues to move up into the right on a growth. I mean, that clearly is the funding arm that needs to be operating well to be able to continue on with some of these newer technologies. Keep in mind too, pricing, like anything, technology as it becomes more established is likely to come down and be a little bit more economically beneficial to a broader audience. And I think as schools integrate this more fully into some of their curriculum moving forward, that also will help with some of the management of the costing.
That's a great point, Mike. And I really, on that note, is we have to keep that positive momentum and hope for that, and watch for that recovery in order to support a lot of these different initiatives. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining today, for providing your thoughts. They're very valuable, and on this very important topic. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as the future of learning evolves. I'm very excited to sort of see a lot of these different solutions get implemented and watch how learning changes and evolves over time. So thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure. Thanks for the time today.
Of course. And for those of you who are listening, thank you for joining. And if you have any questions for either myself or Mike, or comments about what you heard, please reach out to us at the NPD group. We're happy to speak to you and take your questions. Thanks so much, and goodbye.